Welcome to the Soul Archaeology Podcast, a space for connection, resonance, witnessing, and learning. Together we'll harvest medicine from the spiral of life, sharing conversations with other embodied humans who have navigated their own initiations and found alignment with their true soul essence. With weekly astrology, energy updates, embodied conversation, and channeled teachings, this is a space for you to land and find resonance with the spiral of your own soul. Hello, and welcome back to Soul Archaeology. I missed you all last week when I took my little summer break. I've been in the UK, mainly in Wales, and now down in England, just having, a little summer break. And it's been nice to just really sink and soften into this land, into the messages and downloads I've been receiving here. My Neptune line runs through Wales. And so I was right on my Neptune line and I could feel it so deeply. And it's really fascinating because I am a North Node in Pisces. I'm in my nodal return. I know many of you are as well, and we've talked about this. And so I really work with lunar nodes personally. They help me so much in the work that I do, just my personal work and also the work that I do with clients. And my North Node in Pisces was really my guide as I was transitioning into this work, transitioning into this work as a space holder and healing arts practitioner. And going to my Neptune line has been really powerful in sort of like realigning, reorienting to my work and how I want to create and where I'm creating from. And I've received a lot of downloads, a lot of really powerful healing connected to my North Node in Pisces. Neptune rules Pisces, so Neptune is a pretty significant player in my chart. I also have a Sun and Mercury in the 12th house, so Neptune's it's significant in my chart. And I also have Neptune in the 3rd house of communication, so a lot of this podcast is infused and connected to Neptune. And there was a lot coming up around surrender and loss and trust and faith. And the past few weeks have just been so powerful in teaching me my medicine held within surrender and trust, and how things just sort of really go awry when I try to grip and control, which is my South Node in Virgo. So I've been in the deep Neptunian waters in the Welsh Sea. I've been really just sinking and surrendering and flowing with traveling with a group and being in the deep medicine and the really deep psychic waters of a Neptune line. I didn't plan to go to my Neptune line during my nodal return, but of course, the universe always delivers exactly what we need. And it's just been so fun tracking my lines and over the years and really noticing that I'm brought to certain lines when I need certain medicine and certain codes within my chart to be sort of unlocked or activated. I also had the most wild experience that I'd like to share with you all, because I think that these little nuggets of lived experience can sometimes be helpful in sharing them. So I have this incredible pendant that my friend Jess made for me after my dog Arlo passed in 2023. And if you don't know Arlo, if you're new to this podcast, he is my soulmate dog. He is such a powerful guide and teacher for me now still, even though he isn't in the physical, but we were extremely close. He was my best friend for 13 years and certainly a guide on the physical plane, but now beyond. And so I have this necklace that my friend Jess made me, and it has his ashes in it in this resin, and it's just a beautiful necklace, and I wear it every day. it's been so comforting, and it's been such an incredible resource for me in losing him. I feel like I just said this to someone actually before this trip, but I feel like I'm just now emerging from that underworld journey around loss, connected to him. And I jumped into the sea. We were on a sailboat, and I jumped into the sea, and the resin fell out, and I lost his ashes in the sea on this trip. And just the layers of grief that were coming up around that, and that are still sort of processing within me, losing him, or, the representation of him in this way and his ashes in this way. And it's just been incredibly powerful for me, and processing that and being with the grief, but also being with the medicine of Pisces, which is surrender and release and trust. It's the connection that bonds us beyond the physical. And so my North Node in Pisces was what guided me to this work, it guided me to some of my deepest healing. And I'm in my nodal return, which happens every 18 years. And if this is something that intrigues you, I have my new course, Inner Compass, that is out now. It's available. There is a discount code that you can use just through the end of July, and it's the code NORTH. And so you can use that code for 10% off of the course. This is something that's very near and dear to my heart. I have been working with the lunar nodes for many years now, and I find them to be incredibly supportive and really understanding why we are here, what we're here to work on, where we've been and where we're headed. And so the lunar nodes can unlock so much wisdom, so much healing, so much medicine for us when we really understand our South Node, where we've been, when we can understand our deeply rooted patterns. Our South Node is quite literally a glimpse or a doorway that unlocks what's held within our subconscious. And the North Node is our North Star. So it's where we are meant to be headed in this lifetime. And so this course really walks you through your own personal nodal journey. There's a workbook, there are audio lessons, there's meditations. This is a self-guided course, so you can take as long as you'd like. You have access to it forever. It's the type of thing that is going to be a guide that you can go back to time and time again to continue to work with the medicine of your lunar nodes. If you have your chart, that's best. But if not, I also have a chart in the course where you can find what your lunar node is. Even if you don't know your birth time, I have some people that come to me and they just don't know. They don't have their accurate birth data. What's cool about the lunar nodes is that this is something that you can just look up within a chart. So I recommend working with your lunar nodes, even if you aren't familiar with astrology, if you're a beginner or you're advanced, or if you're a healing arts practitioner or a therapist or someone who holds space for others. Understanding the lunar nodes can be an incredibly helpful coaching tool for yourself and for the people you work with. So you can use the code NORTH for 10% off through the end of July. I've received such beautiful feedback, and I love this course so much. So much heart and soul was poured into it. I worked on it for longer than I'd like to admit. And it's just, it's something that I'm really, really proud of and I hold very near and dear to my heart. So I'll link the course in the show notes. If you have any questions, you can always reach out. So yes, it has been an incredible journey. I usually have some sort of deep cellular level purge, healing, transformative portal that I enter into in the summer, specifically during Cancer season. My Chiron is in Cancer. It's my 8th house. So there's always a lot that comes up this time of year, and I'm just so grateful for it. And I'm grateful to know how to work with it. That's why I love astrology, because I use it as an embodiment and empowerment tool, something that I can work with. That's also why I love astrocartography. I also offer astrocartography readings, and they're so fun. It's such a light and playful and really interesting way to work with astrology. So you can book one of my Explore readings if you'd like to dive into your astrocartography. There's an incredible opportunity to really understand how your chart interacts with the world, with the earth, and the different places that we can inhabit on this planet. So we are in retrograde season. Mercury stationed retrograde last week at 15 degrees Leo. It's retrograding back to 4 degrees Leo and stations direct on August 11th. So we are in retrograde season. We already have some of the outer planets retrograde. Through the end of this year, more will join. This is the time of year where things start to slow down. This year started really slow. We had Mars retrograde, we had Venus retrograde, we had a Mercury retrograde. We were deep in the Piscean waters. And then in May, it started to really pick up. May and June were really fast months. And now we're moving into this slower integrative period. It's very inward. It's deep. It's reflective. And I want to really talk about retrograde season in this episode. But we also have something that's significant this week as well. And we have Leo season beginning on July 22nd. And then right after that, we have an early degree new moon in Leo on July 24th. And this new moon has some pretty significant aspects to the outer planets who have moved into new signs. So this 8-degree moon has an opposition to Pluto, which is newly in Aquarius. It's also trining both Saturn and Neptune, who are newly in Aries. So this Leo new moon in a lot of ways holds insight and medicine into what the next 8 to 10 to 20 years will look like for us. The work we really need to be doing and focusing on as we enter this next phase, this next chapter. So this week is significant. We have a lot of Leo energy, a lot of fire energy in the air. And I'll talk about the new moon in a moment, but I really want to sort of sink into the medicine of retrograde season. I feel like we've just emerged from Mars retrograde. We officially left the shadow in May, and that retrograde went through Leo and through Cancer, and now we're in a Mercury retrograde in Leo. And retrograde periods are when we enter the underworld of that planet's domain. So we're in the underworld of Mercury, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto. And retrograde periods are when the planet appears to slow down and move backwards. It's when we slow down, when the energy around that planet slows down enough for us to notice things from a different perspective, to feel into them a little bit more. We enter down through the spiral into our own subconscious. It draws the energy inward, revealing what's suppressed, fragmented, what needs light so we can emerge more whole, more integrated. Retrograde periods are really a descent, a pause, an opportunity to go a bit deeper, to revisit something, to feel into something through a new layer, through a new lens, with a deepened sense of embodiment or clarity. Retrogrades draw us deeper into ourselves to reclaim and shed light on what's shadowed, what's seeking the light of our consciousness. We're quite literally in a different state of consciousness during retrograde periods. So we don't advise to begin anything new or sign anything during Mercury retrograde because we're in another place and we will emerge new on the other side. With more awareness, more wholeness, we might feel completely differently on the other side of this Mercury retrograde. The intention of a retrograde journey is really reclamation. They help us to reclaim more self, more of our awareness, more light, more consciousness, more clarity, more love, more compassion. These are times when the energy quite literally slows down. So we are advised to slow down with it, to create space and really notice what's beneath the surface. This is a recalibration, a turning point. We know that life on this planet moves through contractions and expansions. It's backwards and forwards. It's nonlinear. Growth is nonlinear. And so retrogrades are a little contraction period. It's when we pull in, when we review, revise, reconsider. they're essential to our growth and our evolution. We need retrogrades. They're incredibly helpful. So Mercury is retrograde from July 18th to August 11th. It's moving from 15 degrees Leo back to 4 degrees Leo. Saturn went retrograde on July 13th, and it will be retrograde until November 28th. During that time period, it moves back into Pisces until it's ready to shift back into Aries again for 2.5 years in February. Neptune went retrograde on July 4th. I talked about that a few episodes ago. It will be retrograde until December, when it too shifts back into Pisces, and Neptune and Saturn cross a threshold at the 0 point of Aries together in February of 2026. And then, of course, we have Pluto, who loves retrograde energy because it carries the essence of retrogrades in general. It lives beneath the surface. It's subterranean. It's subconscious. It's depth work. And it's retrograde from May 4th to October 14th of this year. Uranus shifts retrograde in September and Jupiter in November. So we're in it. We're in the retrograde season. We'll really continue through the end of the year, but we're in the waters. And so this is not a time to push something through. This is a time to slow down, to recalibrate, to revisit, to sit with what wants or needs our attention. And this Mercury retrograde is also setting the stage for this powerful new moon in Leo this week, July 24th at 12:11 p.m. Pacific at 8 degrees of Leo. So we are in Leo medicine, Leo terrain. We're in the underworld of Leo. This new moon is opposite Pluto in Aquarius, and also trine Saturn, which is at 1 degrees of Aries, and Neptune at 2 degrees of Aries. It's also sextile Uranus at 0 degrees Gemini. And Leo is the 5th sign of the zodiac. It's our ability to create an ego, a sense of self. It's our ability to self-actualize, to express self, create a healthy sense of who we are on this physical plane. It's connected to joy, the inner child, creativity, passion, courage, pride. Leo represents a journey of self-actualization, not as far as the ego in the egotistical way, but ego as identity and individuation, personality. Leo is where we really step into self, into expression, not to perform, but to express the authentic signature of who we are, our soul. Leo is not narcissism. Leo is about healthy centering of self, healthy self-recognition, actualization. It's where we learn to see ourselves clearly. It's where we learn to connect with our passion, our inner flame, our inner fire, and let it move through us as a creative life force. The 5th house, which is connected to Leo, is the womb of creativity. It's where the soul says, I choose to create, where we move beyond survival, beyond the simplicity of simply living and existing, and into pleasure and joy and experimentation and creativity, passion. It's where we learn how to play as a form of embodiment. It's where we experience romance, not just as partnership, but really as a dance of life force and magnetism. This is also where we meet our inner child and learn about the sacred art of play and joy and creativity. This is where we birth new ideas, art, businesses, children, opportunities, projects. And all of this requires courage, heart-centeredness. This requires us to be seen, to be heard, to be fully expressed. Leo asks us if we are willing and ready to be fully seen, not from the ego, but from the higher heart. And we've been doing some deep recalibration around Leo in our lives. Like I said, we had a Mars retrograde in Leo last year that was asking for us to revisit and examine where we are responding from. Is it the ego? Is it the wounded self? Or is it the higher heart? Where are we afraid to step fully into our truest expression, our sense of self, our identity, our truth? Are we hiding for fear of judgment? And a new moon, of course, is when we experience a connection or a conjunction between the sun and the moon, our inner and outer world. A new moon is a new beginning, but it's where an ending meets that new beginning. It opens up a new lunar cycle. But this new moon in particular is potent. It forms an opposition to Pluto. So we're already in the underworld of Leo. We're looking at how we express, where we express from. We are recalibrating, reworking our relationship to communication, to expression, to being seen, being heard, to creativity, to joy. And this new moon is bringing us a bit deeper into this work. It's providing an opportunity to reflect, to look beneath the surface, to travel into the basement, to understand where we're expressing from, where we are creating from. Is it the wound or the ego, or is it the true wisdom of the higher heart? This new moon really opens us up to the portal of the heart field as a sovereign power center, as a place from which we create, communicate, express. Leo helps us elevate and upgrade into the higher heart. And we'll be navigating this terrain through August. We have 2 weeks of shadow as Mercury moves direct on August 11th. But the energy is really concentrated around this new moon. We'll experience this through the next lunar cycle, but you might feel everything begin to heighten this week. With Pluto applying pressure, it's going to feel perhaps like everything is urgent. Things are more intense. Things need to change or happen right away. Pluto represents power dynamics. So it's going to show us where we are operating from the ego within power dynamics, where we're needing to be seen not from the heart, but from the ego or from a wound, or where we're shying away or hiding from the ego or from a wound. Pluto being in Aquarius really illuminates the power struggles between the individual, which is Leo, and the collective, which is Aquarius. This new moon could reveal where you're giving away your power, your individual power, your sovereignty, your truth, your energy, or where you're perhaps too narrowly focused on self in your own mind, in your own drama, and need to zoom out a little bit. Maybe consider others, consider the wider picture to pull out of your own experience and zoom out to see things from a new perspective. The eagle's eye view. The shadow of Leo is dramaticism, self-centeredness. It's usually coming from a wounded part that feels that it needs to sort of create this field of magnetism, but it's not drawing them to your heart, it's drawing them to the wound. So this new moon opposite Pluto is going to bring us into these layers of perhaps self-centeredness, fear of being seen, fear of expressing, where we're giving our power away, where we're outsourcing it, where we're participating in power dynamics, ego dynamics, where we're hiding or shying away from being seen. This all really depends on what placements you have in Leo, where Leo lands in your chart, but you're going to want to look at where you have 8 degrees of Leo, where you have 8 degrees of a fixed sign, anything between 4 to 12 degrees of a fixed sign placement. And this means you're going to be deep in this work, not only for this new moon, but really through August, because we have Mercury navigating that space over the next few weeks. And this is the journey of this lunar cycle as well. This is the part of the work where we go in and we refine our creative channel, our connective channel, to really look at and audit where we are creating from, where we are expressing from. Are we expressing from the wound, the fear, the ego? Where are we seeking control? Or are we creating from the heart, from the higher heart, from truth, from clarity? This moon is also trine both Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So there's a lot of fire around this new moon. There's a lot of support in making decisions, taking quick action. You might feel like it is time to do the thing, to respond, to act, to choose, to change something. But it's important to remember we're still in a Mercury retrograde. So this is not a great time to drop into reactivity, to respond to something from the wound, from emotion. We have to sit in this fire a little bit. We have to sit in the discomfort. We have to be with the emotions and the internal experiences and really track them down to the root to understand, where are they coming from? Who were we at the time of the birth of that emotion, that feeling, that belief, that pattern? This moon opposite Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto in Aquarius really represents systems, technology, collectivism. On a collective level, this is what we're seeing as far as sort of like control through ideology or quote unquote progress. It can reveal to us the shadow of the hive mind, the homogenization of beliefs. Pluto in Aquarius wants us all to be the same. And Leo is encouraging us to find our individuality. Where can we individuate ourselves? We need this individuation just as much as we need the sameness. Leo wants to stand out. It wants to be seen. It wants to be expressed. It wants to glow. It wants to be illuminated. It wants to speak and move and perform. In its shadow, it's doing it out of a void space, out of a craving or a desire to be seen from the wound, from a wounded part. But in its highest expression, it's simply a channel for creativity, for life force, for pleasure, for joy, for passion. Leo's highest expression is a child dancing out of just pure life force, pure expression, pure feeling. When you can tell they're just moving, not to perform or not to receive attention or recognition, but simply because they feel moved too. So this new moon is a recalibration and an opportunity to revisit, rewire, reconsider how we move with creativity, how we let life force move through us. It might reveal where we've abandoned our authentic voice to serve the collective systems that don't actually nourish us, or where are we performing, conforming, or even shrinking to fit into narratives that don't truly honor us any longer. Maybe we've outgrown them. Maybe we want to change. Maybe we're different now. Where does your creative energy feel stagnant? Or where are you creating to serve the algorithm, social media, to serve an identity that no longer aligns with you? This is really going to illuminate the places where our life force has been outsourced. Even subtly, through over-identification with collective groups, ideals, political parties, community expectations. Where are we creating from the mind rather than the heart? Where are we expressing from the mind rather than the heart? This is where we get to remain an individual within the collective experience, within a collective identity. This is where we click deeper into our sovereignty. And we must remain sovereign. I talked a lot about this in the last episode, but This is something I am very passionate about, is reminding us that we are sovereign beings. And it's so important to stay connected to that, even as we're part of a group or a whole. So things to consider with this new moon in Leo: noticing where you're suppressing authentic expression to avoid rejection, where you need to release the need for external validation, permission to create, to lead, to express, and really noticing where you're experiencing collective pressure to understand or shape your sense of self. Perhaps where you're over-identifying with the group and not as much with the self. This new moon, really this whole next month, is about recalibration of self, identity, expression, creativity, passion. It is a reconnection to your creative channel and you as a creative channel. I personally believe that we are all channels for creativity. There have been many famous artists in the past who have said that they had to create a song because they knew if they didn't, another person would. Bob Dylan famously said that about Neil Young and Heart of Gold. Prince and Michael Jackson had this dynamic between the two of them where they were actually channeling the same songs. We are channels for creative energy. And what's interesting is that we can receive this creative download. We can receive from source this creative life force, but it is through our own unique expression that we share it. If Bob Dylan downloaded a song, it would be so uniquely Bob Dylan. It wouldn't be Neil Young's song. Being Bob Dylan is what makes his work so interesting and so precious. And Neil Young has his own unique individuality and personality that turns that creative download into something new. So if we can think about everything in that way, that we are simply channels, but we also bring through, when we share what's coming through us, we bring through our own personal imprint, our own personal signature. This is Leo. Leo is the imprint of self. When we share life force with the world, what are you imprinting when you share your voice, your truth, your love, your medicine, your work, your art? Is it the imprint of the ego, of the wound, or is it the imprint of your heart? And this is the work of the next month. We will certainly be confronted with the ways in which we are expressing and sharing from the ego or the wound. You might experience reactivity, a desire to respond quickly, to act, to create, to destroy. Can you soften a little bit more? Can you pause for a little bit longer? Can you track that feeling down to the roots? This is the work of right now. So, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for honoring my sacred pause, where I recalibrated where I'm creating from. And I had to choose last week to take a pause because it felt very authentic to me. I felt like I needed the break. I felt like I would be honoring myself. I'd be honoring my North Node if I took a break. But I, of course, had these wounds and these fears come up around taking the break. So I appreciate that you're here. I'm always so grateful when you share episodes, when you share on social media, share with friends. It means the world to me. This podcast is a Leo, and I chose that with intention because my personal midheaven is Leo. I have no placements there. It is always my work to find more comfort in being seen. And this podcast is a beautiful Leo. So thank you for being here. Thank you for honoring her essence, her magnetism, her life force. Thank you for honoring my creative channel. It means the world. I will be linking the discount code for my course, Inner Compass. You can also use the code podcast for a discount on my astrocartography sessions as well. My astrocartography sessions are held under my Explore session. So just indicate when you book that you want to do astrocartography. I still pull your birth chart. We utilize it when we're looking at your lines because everyone experiences the lines differently because your chart, your soul blueprint is different as well. Thank you for being here. Happy new moon, and I'll talk to you next week.